Vienna, we have very good grid connections. That's a big advantage. And basically, coming back to the figures, the main figure is have roughly about 1,000 megawatts of renewable electricity by 2030, and out of that, it's going to be around 600 megawatts of photovoltaics.
Yep.
And until now, like we started that pathway in I think 2018. So far, we have about 200 megawatts of photovoltaics on the ground, operating and running. And you need to know that getting to that figures, in order to reach that figures, what we do is that basically Wien Energie and me in my department, like not me, my team in my department, what we do is like every year we build a hydropower plant, every year we build a wind farm, every quarter we build a large-scale free field mounted solar installation, and every week we build 1 or 2 rooftop solar installations.
Wow.
And that's constantly.
So welcome to the new episode of the Energy Bridge. Today we have the pleasure to have Herbert Brandner,
Thanks.
head of renewable electricity production in Austria for Wien Energie.
That's correct.
So it's amazing. We were waiting for this interview. You had a lot of experience, like a bit of context internationally to developing projects, renewable projects, and now in Wien Energie, which is one of the biggest utility companies here in Austria. So yeah, really thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for hosting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's always nice to talk to young people at the beginning of the road, and see how you see things. And how it matches with my experiences and how to go forward together.
Sure. Thank you about the young.
Hey, thank you very much, Herbert, for giving the time, as Daniel said. But please walk us through some of your experiences. I mean, you have a distinguished career, I think almost 30 years now.
Well, it's 20 years. It's not that I'm not that old, but it's 20 years. That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, please tell us about some of your experiences, and also starting from your studies. It's so interesting what you have studied and how you ended up in the energy field.
Well, it's very interesting. When I was young in the beginning, I did a technical forestry high school, so I'm a professional forester. And after that, I continued on and studied at the Vienna University for Economics, and have a university degree in international trade. And therefore, after I finished university, I had the chance to start my career in the energy field, working for Energy Supply Lower Austria, EVN, because that time in the mid 2000s, at the early 2000s, wooden biomass was a big issue, a big topic. And EVN is a very big player in Austria for district heating systems based on wooden biomass. And looking at my expertise coming from forestry and also economy, I got the chance when I was young to work there as and start the supply chain management to get all the wood they needed for their district heating systems, and also did project development there for district heat systems. And that was very interesting. I did that for several years. And while I did that, I also came across that master program at TU Wien, and did the renewable energy master at TU Wien, which literally changed my career. and there I got all the other basics of wind power, solar, water, geothermal, and all that stuff. That was very interesting. I did that beside my normal job, which was quite demanding but doable. And therefore, after finishing that, in my early 30s, I changed to another company. I started to work for WEB Wind Energie AG. And this time they were looking for a new person to start over their project development department. And as I used to work as a student, I already got some job experience in holiday jobs at Canada, and I had very good connections to a Canadian embassy in Vienna. They also hired me to start up their projects and their ideas to go to Canada. And that was obviously a very good opportunity for me to start a professional career also with a link to Canada. And so for WEB, that was a very international phase in my career. Based in Austria, we did very many projects in Austria, but also we had projects that time in France, Germany, Czech Republic, Italy, and I started that company in Canada for them. Wow. So, and that was very, very interesting, because from the first time thinking of going to Canada until really forming a joint venture, securing land, getting the permits, and have the first turbines up and running, we needed only a little bit more than 2 years, which is extremely fast. Yeah. So I'm proud of that.
Especially compared to one of the projects in Austria that took you 13 years.
Yes, but anyway, we were lucky, and it's always a team effort. It's never, ever, it's a single person. It's always a team. Yeah. And you can only do that if you have the right people around you. Yeah. Everybody is eager to go, and it's always successful project development is always right people meet the opportunity at the right point in time. So that's always the steps to be done. And anyway, after that interesting international phase at WEB for some years, my wife and me decided that we want to start a family, and therefore it's nice to spend some more time together, because that time I was traveling a lot and not home very much. So I came back to Vienna and was lucky to get this job opportunity working for Wien Energie, which is the biggest energy utility in Austria. And I worked for them in the wind power department. And in the meantime, I'm the head of all renewable electricity production in Austria. Yeah. In between, I was also responsible for the international field. But we were lucky that the international emphasis of Vienna Energy were that successful and ambitious that we decided to start a new department for it. And so now we have a separate department who's focusing on the international business and let it grow again.
Amazing.
Wow. So you started, just to a bit, a small parenthesis in Canada, because Canada, they have a lot of resources, but fossil resources. So how was back in the time to enter with renewables in a known and old market full of oil and gas and fossil?
It's very important to notice that Canada is a very big country. So there is not one fits all, like Canada is fossil or Canada is renewable. There's different areas. And already at my time at EVN, I got links to Canada with focus on biomass, and therefore had a better idea. And you need to say that there are provinces in Canada which were that time very much focused on oil and gas, like Alberta, and they are still. But there were other countries or provinces in Canada which were looking more at renewables, like British Columbia. So don't forget, in Ontario, one of the oldest hydropower dams are the Niagara Falls power plant in Ontario. So Canada has very rich resources in any kind, and when you want to do business, you just need to focus where you want to go. But the biggest new thing for me was Canada is still a fairly new country, and that was the first time I got to witness how it is to work in a growing economy. Because when you work in Austria, everywhere you go, there are already 3 other people, and if you want to do a project, you need to take it from somebody else. Yeah. When you do a project in Canada, other people congratulate you and say, well done, it's your project, go for it, and there is enough space, and in a growing economy, there is room for growth and for new things without taking it from somebody else. That was the biggest difference.
Wow.
But also your background, I mean, it's very interesting, forestry, finance, and then engineering. Like, how do you think it shaped your renewable energy strategy? Like because you you have a very unique and different perspective for renewables.
For me, it was very interesting in my high school education in forestry, and some people don't know that anymore these days. Sustainability, the word sustainability was created in forestry. So all my forestry and all the forest education is about sustainable use of natural resources. And therefore it was very interesting because already in high school we had a very good and deep learning how to do the ecological sustainability. It was lots about engineering that time already. So it gave me a very profound base of understanding and also thinking in circular solutions on what you do.
And yeah, you have worked in different continents, right? So what would you see that there are the differences to develop projects in different regions or continents, countries?
I think the most important thing is before you start doing things, you need to take your time to understand how this country works and how people are there. Like, and in wherever you work, it's all about a team effort. So you need to have different characters in your team to have a most successful strengths in your team, because everybody is different and you need to put people where they're good at. And also when you come to a different country, there is different ways people do things, and it's of course it's also about stereotypes. So sometimes people would say, like, more southern countries, they are maybe more creative or more not so much on the point, or like there's the typical German engineer who is taking the third digit behind the comma still serious. So I'd say in a good project team, you would like take the German engineer, that the stereotype of a German engineer, to have it super accurate. You take the southern people or Italian to have a creative project solutions and the people understanding and how to do the stakeholder management. And in the middle, you put an Austrian to make sure that these two get along together well. So and that's when you come to a new country, you look how is the permitting process there, what resources are available, and resources is usually it's a land resource, it's a finance resource, and it's a human resource. And the human resource you always need to take first, because first you want to make sure how is the culture in the country, how the culture works together, what people do you have available to be successful, and then all the other things will come into place step by step.
And these teams, for example, in Canada, maybe you had to build a team. Did you choose local people, like
yes,
people who knows the local reality?
You always need to have local people on the ground. Like, and even in Canada, like if you work in Ontario or if you work in Nova Scotia, it's a different environment. Nova Scotia counts to the Maritimes. And it's also, the Maritimes in Canada are also somehow closer to maritime feelings in Europe. It's not like it's people there are different. And you always need to have local people on the ground, because at the end of the day, you need to have people who speak to the landowners, who speak to the farmer, who have it there, who go to the local authorities, and that's always easier and more efficient with local people. So what we did is that VEB was very experienced that time already in wind power engineering and project development. So we brought in the expertise of VEB for project development and engineering, and local people, we had an exchange with the local people and they put it on the ground at the place.
Interesting. Herbert, you have been developing really big projects, and Wien Energie aims to have almost about 600 megawatt solar in Austria by 2030. How much of it has already been installed, and what are the main constraints that you get for land usage, for grid connection hurdles, especially because it's Austria and especially Vienna is also very urban. So getting a grid connection, there are many challenges of that. So how's it going?
Well, first of all, I need to say that I'm in a lucky position that we are doing projects all over Austria, not only in Vienna. So we do many projects in Vienna, but also at the rest of Austria. And also within Vienna, Vienna has a very good and very strong electricity grid. So within the city limits of Vienna, we have very good grid connections. That's a big advantage. And basically, coming back to the figures, the main figure is have roughly about 1,000 megawatts of renewable electricity by 2030, and out of that, it's going to be around 600 megawatts of photovoltaics. And until now, like we started that pathway in I think 2018. So far, we have about 200 megawatts of photovoltaics on the ground, operating and running. And you need to know that getting to that figures, in order to reach that figures, what we do is that basically Wien Energie and me in my department, like not me, my team in my department, what we do is like every year we build a hydropower plant, every year we build a wind farm, every quarter we build a large-scale free field mounted solar installation, and every week we build 1 or 2 rooftop solar installations.
Wow.
And that's constantly. So that's quite impressive figures that you can only realize with a great team, and I have an amazing team. I'm happy about that. I'm very proud about that. And what you need to do is to get to that scaling figures also in PV is you can only build a certain amount of projects per year. But what it is, the projects get bigger. So some years ago when we started, a 1 megawatt solar power plant was huge. Like the average size of the plant some years ago was 100 kilowatts. Now we build already this year, we have 3 projects with more than 15 megawatts per project. So what it is, we have large field-mounted plants, and they become bigger. So within the next years, there will be years where we build up to 100 megawatts per year only in PV, which sounds amazing.
It's a lot.
But it's possible when you think of having one field-mounted plant with 20 megawatts. It's basically, let's say, okay, there's 3 or 4 projects, but they're big. But it's doable.
And how is it going?
It's going well. It's going well. Only at the moment, I need to say that within the rest of Austria, unfortunately, the grid connection and grid capacity is very limited already, because the renewable energy power plants erection worked quite well over the last years. But getting the electricity lines in place is basically too slow, because the permitting process is taking very, very long, and there's so many people and oppositions working against it. Everybody wants to have electricity, but nobody wants to see electricity lines or wind farms. So that's very hard to make people understand. Anytime you use your smartphone to have a search engine or whatever, or watching videos, creates lots of energy demand. And we all need that energy, but it needs to come from somewhere.
I mean, that's why it's interesting to get those policymakers with the industries like yourself.
Yeah, and it's also the switch of our energy system. It's not only an industry or financial or whatever. It's a social thing. It's a social movement. And like in the 1980s, we had an issue in Europe, all over the world, with acid rain from coal-fired power plants. And therefore, they built filters and so on, but also maybe you heard about it or remember there was this issue with the ozone layer and so on, and the FCKW sprays. And so there was a whole society movement in avoiding that things. And it would be very nice to see that also for renewable electricity and renewable energy, a social movement like that come up and people get active in changing their things and shaping their future.
Yeah, well, great statement.
And Herbert, you have led so many M&A deals as well, starting from almost 50 plus. When it comes to renewable assets, how do you value renewable assets and how good it is? Especially because of the volatile market that we are in. So how do you value the renewable assets so that you can get into acquiring or maybe merging with some?
First of all, I need to say that we have a very important growth strategy. So it's always important that you work on a portfolio. And the portfolio that we work on is that the biggest thing that our solid base is our own projects. We have our own project development department. We have our own construction people who make sure that it's constructed. But also in order to create speed on the way to reaching your targets, you develop your own projects, but also when you get to a good opportunity, you buy projects from the market. So that comes to the M&A deals. And when it comes to an M&A deal, it's always important to have a very good look at it. What's on the table right now? Really understand what's on the table, because everybody who sells your project says it's ready to build, it's up and running, and it's so perfect, but it never is. So it's very important to find out quickly what's the crucial issues, what's still open, and then what's the value about the project when you buy it on an M&A deal is also the future potential of it. Like, it's not only what's on the table, it's also your personal creativity, what you see, what you're able, how you further develop it. So when you buy a project, of course in Austria it's always a very competitive market, and then you see whether you see, okay, there is something on the table, and then you see all the obstacles, what could happen to it, and then you lower it down and make it not look so good. That's one way to look at it. Or to always look at the chances and the risks. So you have to address the risks, but you also have to address the chances. So like when you buy a wind farm or a wind farm project and you see it, and it's, let's say, okay, it's a certain generation of wind generators, and it's a certain amount of turbines, and I have very good planning staff in my department that we look at it and say, okay, well, there is a wind farm for sale with maybe 10 wind turbines, but we see opportunity that you add another 3 to the project and make it bigger than it is at the moment. That creates a surplus, and that's the things you look at it.
Yeah. So you have been in both sides, like developing and acquiring, to make all the due diligence, let's say technically and legal. Okay, that's interesting.
Projects in other countries are also interesting for Wien Energy going forward?
Yes, that's the international department that I already talked about.
Yeah.
So they are at the Balkan regions and also some Eastern Europe countries, and they always look at their own development and acquisitions. That's what we do.
Okay, it will be interesting to interview them also because it grew so fast that you had to create a new department. So for sure there are things.
That's very important when you business development or corporate development in your company. Always make sure that first you see the opportunity, then you create the environment to facilitate the opportunity, and then you try to get it with the staff that you already have to a point where it's mature enough that you're certain that you will be able to do the next step, and then you let it grow, put it to a certain department, make people responsible and doable for it and accountable for it, and let them go. And don't hinder yourself by staying too small, but you want to be sure that it's mature enough for the next step before you let it go.
Just one question on that note. When you started at Wien Energie about 10 years ago, how big was the team, and now how much has it expanded?
Well, it's my department. When I about 10 years ago, I worked as a project. I started again. I did a step back. Like I already was CFO for WEB at North America, but then I did a step back and said, no, I want to be a project developer again. But anyways, that time the whole department was like 20 or 25 people or something. And now we are only in my department. It's about 70, and altogether it's more than 100 now.
Wow. And just in that note again, because we have heard that there is a lack of professionals in energy field to address energy transition. Have you experienced that?
Yes. There is a lack of staff, but that's everywhere. It's everywhere. But what you want to do is when you have that, you look at what skill level people have, or what's similar things where you need that skills, and then get people who would fit to the team, and for the rest train them yourself. For me, the most important thing is that people fit to the team, like personality of people, and if they are willing to work and if they're smart or not. The rest, professional education, of course, you would have a certain education from university or school or whatever, and the rest you can train them on the job.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I mean, just moving about decarbonization part for, how do you think the utilities can balance electrification of heating and transport with grid stability?
Especially because of the intermittency of renewables.
You see, Wien Energie especially is in a very good position for that, for sector coupling. Because Wien Energie is, we have electricity production, we also have heat production. We support, or we provide the city of Vienna with electricity, we provide the city of Vienna with heat, and we provide the city of Vienna with electricity for mobility. And also within the bigger framework of the Wiener Stadtwerke, there is also the Wiener Linie, with the underground system and everything. So we are happy to be able to play on the whole portfolio. So that's a big advantage for us. And therefore, there is a large program going on now that Wien Energie also is drilling for geothermal heat sources to get hot water out of the ground to feed.
That's new, right?
That will be a very important pillar for the future energy supply. To have the hot water source from geothermal get into the district heat system, and then we also have heat pumps that provide use the energy out of like water from the Danube or ground source water to produce heat, and then we also have it's basically like a hot water boiler that in times where there is too much electricity in the grid, or too much electricity produced, like solar energy at noon or whatever, we run that hot water boiler that boils hot water out of the electricity surplus is used to boil hot water. The hot water is stored in a large, huge storage, and then it's fed into the district heat system for district heating. So that's one way you can do the sector coupling to balance out that system.
So in this intermittency of renewable, you are addressing this over-offer of energy, transforming it into hot water in this case. And how do you see the role of storage?
Storage is very important, and there's like at the moment we store the energy also putting in different systems like electricity to heat or whatever, but it's also going to be very and then also in the Austrian system we have the pump storage hydropower dams in the west of Austria. So the grid is balancing out within Austria with the storage power plants, but also very important is going to be the battery storage systems. So that's another thing we're looking at. And very important, what we also do is that we have, like, for one grid connections for a wind farm, we also blend it together with a PV field. So we have a hybrid power plant out of wind and photovoltaics.
Yeah.
And then we also put a battery to it. So therefore we can balance it out perfectly.
Well, with the same connection point.
Because what we found out is that wind power production and solar is not at the same time usually, because usually there is more wind in winter and there is less solar in winter, obviously. And interesting enough, if you try to look yourself, usually in the mornings and in the evenings, it's more likely to be windy.
Yeah.
But at noon, at midday, usually when it's very hot, it's not very windy. So therefore, the solar production during the day, but also over the year, is complementary to wind. So that's the first thing, how you can level it out. And the second thing is then with the battery, and it's all fed in the same cable.
And that's interesting. Is that a kind of a pilot that you are planning to do?
We were one of the first who did it. So it's already up and running. Like we built already here at the 32nd district in Wien at one of our biggest PV plants at the Schafflerhofstraße. That feeds into a grid connection from a wind farm that we have out there in Andlersdorf. There is a wind farm with 9 megawatts of wind power that we have. The grid connection capacity for it is 12 megawatts. So there is the 12 megawatt cable, and within that 12 megawatt cable we have the 9 megawatts from the PV plant from the wind power in Andlersdorf, but also 17 megawatts of photovoltaics from the Schafflerhofstraße. It all feeds into the same grid, and now we add a 5 megawatt battery to it to have a better leveling out of the system, balancing of the system, and the battery will be up and running at the end of the year. And then we have a perfect match of that system here. And another interesting installation we have is out at Trumau, at the south of Vienna, where we have a 10 megawatt PV plant and a 27 megawatt wind power plant also feeding into the same grid. And there will be more PV and also a battery coming to that system.
Sorry, just to know the technical details, but for how many hours are the battery storage system designed?
It depends. The first batteries that we do now are designed for 2 hours, but I guess more likely it will go to 4 hours.
For some specific reason, legal framework?
No, it's just that the midday peak tends to be longer.
Okay, to optimize.
Yeah, it's a technical optimization.
Okay, and just the last one. But regarding the permits, especially for the grid connection, because you have to talk with APG in this case. So how is the permit process to get these new projects, like hybrid projects, in the same connection point?
That's at this level, it's not the APG. It's still 110 kV. So that's the local grid providers. So that would be Wiener Netze or Netze Niederösterreich, whatever. And it's just the application process. And as long as they have capacity in the grid, they are obliged to let you in. So that's not the big deal. At the moment, what we face is a much more serious issue that new legislations are coming up. It's the new, it's the ELWG, the electricity law in Austria, and therefore it's very important. At the moment, they have planned that PV power plants also, when they feed electricity into the grid, would need to pay a kind of taxes.
No way. That's new.
And also, when you have a battery storage system, it's very important. The best case is like it's an expensive infrastructure that you build. So you don't want to use it only once a day at the midday peak for the photovoltaics to load it. It's also like that battery could be loaded like 24/7, load or unloaded, also to balance the grid. And at the moment, legislation is not fully in place to make that economical feasible possible, because at the moment, unfortunately, government is looking for every kind possible where they can get money from to solve the budget. And at the moment, they big time are reaching into renewable energies with the electricity prices and all different kind of new taxes to hinder that. So it's legislation which is very complicated to get permits, and at the moment it's also getting very complicated to earn money with it.
Well, this is like a deja vu with what happened in Spain with the tax to the sun that
Yes.
they call it. So we're going to go deeper into that, but that's for another interview. But it's
just going one step back about what we were talking about, the heating part. So biomass has played a key role at EVN, and also, do you think that the other countries, like let's say in the more Central and Eastern Europe, they should prioritize biomass over solar and wind?
It's different things we're talking about. Like I say, for electricity production, solar, wind, and hydro, or like hydro, wind, and solar in that order, makes much sense.
Yeah.
For heat production, I'd say biomass, wooden biomass, and also biogas makes sense for heat production.
Yeah.
But it's just for large scale or bigger scale electricity production. It's a tremendous amount of resource that you need, and it's a amazing effort in the logistics that you need. So therefore, I would recommend biomass for heating and the other sources for electricity. I would keep it divided.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just some more challenges about project development. You know, like the project development never goes without the transparency, and there's a lot of corruption risk and transparency issues that project developers have to go through. Would you think that how can people safeguard their financing, especially in renewable projects? And I know in Austria the system is robust, but also like Wien Energie is also going into different markets. How do you face that?
Well, it's first of all, I think it's good to stick with bigger known energy utilities.
Yeah.
Because like we have our compliance officers and our own obligations, and it's bigger companies tend to stay on the legal side because it just doesn't make sense to go the wrong way, because sooner or later the things fall back on someone else. So it's always it's maybe at the first step it looks like it's the harder way.
Yeah.
But it's the longer lasting way to stay on the legal side, and like I would never do anything illegal or like corruption wise things, because it just makes no sense. What you rather need to do is that very often, not by purpose, but sometimes the people you have to do with like mayors of other cities who give you the land rights or landowners, they don't know better. And then it's in the obligation of the project developer to tell them, well, hey, sorry guy, maybe you're asking me for something to do for you in order to get your land, but I need to tell you what you're asking me for is not legal. We cannot do that, and we are not willing to do that. So like it's always in the responsibility of the professional to make the non-professional person aware of the framework we work in, and to stick on the legal side. And I see like it would be too easy in my way to say, well, Austria is so good, and then there are all the other countries which are so corrupt. The world is a little bit more complicated. So there are people everywhere who want to try to optimize their own system, let's say it like this. And it's up to you and the project developer, and stay professional and just do a professional job, because that's the longer lasting way.
It's a matter of risks too, right?
Yes, to stay on the legal side it's basically a kind of risk mitigation, because you want to make sure that you have not in any case any illegal or corruptive things in your environment, because this will put your project into danger.
Yeah. Is it different? I mean, just one question on that note, especially for non-EU countries, because Wien Energie do want to get into Balkans, you know. So because they have a different legal framework, and energy communities make sure that they come on the same level as EU. So is there some regulation changes that you think that they should do, and so that there could be more transparency?
Basically, all the EU countries at the main framework nowadays is already done by the EU anyway. So the framework is done by the EU, and from the EU it comes down, and like at the end of the day, the EU is doing the framework, and the separate countries need to put it into force. So there is basically no way around it.
Okay.
And also one more thing about that thing with corruption and stuff, or maybe like looking at other countries. Also think about this way, like things are changing very quickly. So if you would do some things with one person in politics which are not 100% correct, probably these people maybe are not there anymore next year or the year after, and then you lost time and money and resources. So it's better to stick to the official way and walk it through and have a more sustainable result.
And regarding the challenges in the development side, just to come back with the case that Raul mentioned of this wind power plant who took 13 years to get approval, and it was approved this year. How was that process for Wien Energie? What happened? What were the learnings?
It's basically it's a long column of legal issues that we have that basically, first of all, like when you have, starting with the idea of a project, okay, you have the idea, you want to do a wind farm. Perfect, nice. Then you go to a certain area and say, well, I want to do it here because it looks good. And then you want to make sure that there's enough distance to housings of other people, that you don't have any issues with noise emissions or whatever. And then you start like before you even hand in for the permitting, you need to do more than at least 2 years of ecological survey in that area to make sure that there is no or that you have the that they have a sound database of all the ecological issues and all the things. So you need to have 2 or 3 years only to provide all the necessary material to hand in for the approval process.
2-3 years?
Yes.
Okay.
That's 2 to 3 years that you need to do a survey of counting all the birds, counting all the bats, looking at all the plants and all that stuff. So that's already the first thing. Then you hand in for the permitting process, and then authorities again usually take about 1 year to look at the papers because it's a lot of paper. It's like when you print out all the papers you need for environmental assessment in Austria, it's a whole van. It's not a minivan, it's a van. It's a van full of paper. So that's people need to go through that.
Okay.
And then you have all that permitting, and then at that stage in Lower Austria there came in a zoning process where the authorities of Lower Austria said, well, we don't want wind farms anywhere anymore. We do a zoning where you want to have it, and that zoning process took another 3 years. So that's the first 6 years already gone.
Okay.
So then you end up, you have your project in that zone with the zoning process, you do the environmental assessment, and after 6-7 years or something, you get your approval. Hooray!
Okay.
Perfect. And then comes a project opponent and says, well, but I think there is something not done correctly, and I'll put you to court because I don't believe that your ecological survey is correct, and there's got to be, I think there is that bird, or maybe it's not there, but it could be there potentially. Okay. So another 2 years at court to prove that the bird is not there and it also will not come.
Okay.
That's another 2 years gone. So then, okay, we are about 8 years in the field, and then the windmill, the product to produce the electricity, the windmill is not available on the market anymore because market development is very quick. So every 5 years, usually a new types of wind farms, wind power plants come out, and the old ones are gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have a permit, but no power plant anymore to build there. So you start again to change the permits to all the things that are available in the market now. Same thing again. Go to the authorities.
Again to
count the birds, update the birds, and all of a sudden 13 years are gone.
Oh wow! Well, this year finally.
Well, now we build it.
Okay.
But I mean, there must have been also, as you said, in between there was a case about if the ecological survey has not been done thoroughly, and so the role of community, you know. But how can utilities design some projects where taking consideration of communities and taking more environmental people in consideration? And
to be honest, I need to say, I think it's very important that you do the ecological studies and all that professional, and that nobody of us wants to harm any birds or whatever, yeah. But at the moment, the legal situation in Austria is that anybody who claims to be an NGO can put you to court, and I think this is going too far. Like, I think the rights of different parties to interfere your project is going ways too far, because in Europe, obviously we have an energy issue, we have a climate issue, and all that stuff, and still people can block you at court for years, just saying we think you didn't do it right. So I think that also the possibilities for third parties to interfere with your project should be limited at some step, because after several years of environmental studies and several years of official governmental approval process, at our situation in Europe and in Austria now with the electricity demand and the climate change, we should say after a few years, okay, this is approved now, let's keep it like this and do it and step forward.
I wanted to ask you something that I'm personally curious about, which is the retrofit of coal power plants, especially in this region. So what is your vision about it? What would be the best practices to do it? And
the best practice for a coal-fired power plant is to take it down with a caterpillar.
But can we reuse, like, to make a retrofit?
No, I don't think so. No, because it's. I know that this has been done with. I think at some power plants it has been done with to use it for pellets, but that used to be coal-fired power plants for brown coal, which is the dirtiest coal, and to change one, like, it's still, you would need to put so much investment into it to have the correct filters and everything in place, and still it's a very inefficient power plant. This is a technology with like 20% efficiency, like in the year 2025. It's a waste of resource to run a power plant on 20% of efficiency just because it's there and old. So I think an old power plant should be put down and have a new one. Like, if you want to use biomass, build a new power plant using biomass, but build an efficient new one. So that's one of the biggest impacts, and always make sure that you use electricity and heat, because all that old coal power plants, they don't use the heat as well. So you would have an old inefficient power plant using valuable resource of wood just for electricity production. So that's not state-of-the-art energy consumption. So build a new one that uses electricity and heat and make it efficient.
Okay, so this 20% of efficiency to generate electricity, the rest 80% is almost heat.
Yeah, it's lost. It's gone. It's blown in the air.
And it could be used.
Yeah, well, you could have usually with a more efficient engine, you can dimension it way smaller. You have it smaller, you need less resource, you use electricity and heat, and you end up at the end of the day like with 85 or 90% efficiency, and that's what we need to aim for.
Okay, so no retrofit for coal.
No. No.
Okay, I like it.
Coal is gone.
Cool.
So, Herbert, going from the old outlook to the future outlook, what emerging tech that you think, I mean, because the energy transition is a long goal, it will go on for next 2 decades. What emerging tech that you see coming up in the next years?
I'm not sure. Like, I think we will need maybe not emerging new technologies, but I think it's optimization and a new steering of and balancing out of the whole system. That's like that's what will make our system more efficient and better for the next years. So because the technologies, basically the technologies are in place already. Like we have wind, water, hydro, we have geothermal, we have hydrogen. That's all already there. There's nothing new anymore.
Yeah.
But now we need to facilitate it, we need to scale it in bigger scale, and we need to level it out so that it's most efficient use.
Yeah, actually we haven't asked for hydrogen. What is the Wien Energy vision with hydrogen?
Well, I'm not an expert on hydrogen, so it's better to talk to the hydrogen experts.
Okay.
I think there will be use for hydrogen. The hydrogen will come. The challenge will be to get enough hydrogen and get it out of renewable sources.
Yeah, like green hydrogen with all the rainbow.
Yeah.
But the green is the good one. Okay.
Interesting.
And we are in a big challenge. Energy transition is set to 2050, right? So would you have some advice for new professionals who are getting into this field?
Yes,
They may be seeing that.
Stick to your dream, do it. It's very interesting. It is challenging, but go for it and do it, and don't let other people tell you, like, there's every day you meet 10 people who tell you what's not possible. Stick to the one who says, I believe in you.
Wow.
Go for it.
Amazing. And just on that note, you were telling about that you started MS Renewable Energy System way later, after having so much experience. So like that people can, the barriers to come into renewable energy sector is not that high. People think it's too high, and a lot of people, young professionals, they don't want to come into it. So just do you have some also advice for them that the barrier is not that high? They just need to put...
Yeah, it's not that high, and don't make it too complicated. Just go on the website of one of the wind turbine manufacturers. They have all videos about their technology. Look at one of these videos, and after 10 minutes you will realize, okay, I can do that. This is understandable for me.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot in the interview. So
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Herbert. It's been a pleasure, and hope we get to hear about more projects that you do and keep the learning going. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the community for watching this video until the end, and see you in the next episode. See you.
Cool.